My name is Emily, and at 48 years old, I believed I had finally built the life I'd always dreamed of. I worked hard for everything I had, supporting my husband, Jeff, and raising our son, Adam. Our house wasn't just a home. It was a symbol of the years of dedication and sacrifices I'd made for my family. But it turns out all that work wasn't enough, at least not for them. It all started a few months after Adam left for college. The house felt emptier without him, but I wasn't prepared for the strange shift in atmosphere. Jeff became distant, his mother, Marie, cold and dismissive. They started having private conversations in low voices, which would abruptly stop whenever I entered the room. I tried not to think too much of it. After all, families change as kids grow up, right? But something deeper was happening. Something I couldn't quite put my finger on. Jeff had always been supportive, or so I thought. But now, I was being treated more like a guest in my own home than a partner. One evening after dinner, Marie, who had lived with us since the early years of our marriage, called me into the living room. Her tone was unusually stern. "Emily," she said, "it's time we had a talk." I sat down cautiously, sensing something was off. Marie's eyes, usually critical but soft, were now hard and judgmental. "Now that Adam is out of the house, your role here is done," she continued bluntly. "You've raised him well, and we're grateful for that. But Jeff and I have been discussing things, and we think it's best for you to leave." My heart stopped. Leave? What was she talking about? I stared at her, waiting for the punchline of some cruel joke that never came. "What do you mean, leave?" I asked, my voice shaking. Marie leaned back, crossing her arms as though she'd just made the most reasonable request in the world. "You were only here for Adam. You've done your part. There's no reason for you to stay now. We can manage just fine without you." I could barely breathe. Was this some kind of nightmare? How could my husband be a part of this? Marie's words felt rehearsed, like she'd been waiting for the moment to finally cut me out. Desperate for answers, I ran to Jeff's office where he was working late, as usual. "Jeff, what is this?" I blurted out before he could even look up from his computer. "Your mother just told me I need to leave the house. What's going on?" Jeff didn't seem surprised. Instead, he sighed, as though I had just reminded him of something inconvenient. "Emily," he said slowly, "we've been talking about this for a while. Marie's right. Now that Adam's gone, we need to think about the future, and it's better for everyone if we part ways." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Part ways? After 20 years of marriage? So what? You're just going to throw me out like I'm some old piece of furniture you don't need anymore? I demanded, my voice rising with each word. He finally looked up, his eyes cold and unfamiliar. "It's not like that," he said. "We've just outgrown each other. You'll be fine. We'll make sure you have a place to go. It's better this way." I stared at him, completely numb. The man I had shared my life with, who I thought loved me, had been planning this behind my back for who knows how long. And now, with Adam gone, I was expendable. "I need to go for a walk," I mumbled, barely holding back tears. I stumbled out of the house, my mind racing. How could this be happening? I thought we were happy. I thought everything was fine. But clearly, I had been living in a fantasy. As I wandered aimlessly through the neighborhood, I replayed the past few months in my head. The distance, the coldness, the secret conversations. It had all been leading up to this. But how long had they been planning it? Had Jeff ever really loved me? Or had I just been a convenient caretaker for his son? I returned home hours later, my mind still in a fog. The house was dark and quiet. I went straight to our bedroom and locked the door, not wanting to face anyone. The next morning, I woke up feeling a strange sense of clarity. I wasn't going to let them push me out of my own life without a fight. I had been there for them through everything, sacrificed my career, my dreams, my own happiness, and they thought they could just discard me? I spent the next few days gathering my strength, trying to figure out my next move. I couldn't confront Jeff again. Not yet. I needed more information. Something about the whole situation felt wrong. I started to pay closer attention to the conversations between Jeff and his mother. They weren't as careful as they thought they were. One afternoon, as I was folding laundry in the hallway, I overheard them talking in the kitchen. "She doesn't even know yet," Marie was saying, her voice dripping with satisfaction. "Once she's out, we'll be able to sell the house and get that place in the city we've been eyeing. Jeff, you've done the right thing. She's just dead weight at this point." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. They were planning to sell the house? My house? I leaned closer, trying to hear more without being seen. "Yeah," Jeff muttered. "She won't even see it coming. We'll get her out, and it'll be over. I just hope she doesn't make this more difficult than it needs to be." That was it. They had been planning this for months, maybe even years. They were going to kick me out, sell the house, and leave me with nothing. I clenched my fists, rage boiling inside me. They thought they could get rid of me so easily. But they didn't know the truth. I had a secret of my own. A secret that Jeff and Marie were completely unaware of. Years ago, when Jeff's business was struggling, I had quietly taken over the mortgage for the house. I had paid it off in full using the money I earned from my freelance work. The house was mine. Legally, I was the sole owner. Jeff never bothered with the paperwork, never cared enough to ask. He just assumed it was his, like everything else in his life. But he was wrong. I spent the next few weeks preparing my own plan. If they wanted to get rid of me, I would make sure they regretted it. I met with a lawyer, gathering all the documents that proved the house was mine. I didn't tell anyone what I was doing. I just smiled politely whenever Marie made another snide comment, or when Jeff tried to avoid me altogether. Let them think they were in control. The day finally came when Jeff decided to make it official. He came home from work and asked me to sit down in the living room. Marie hovered nearby, clearly eager to see me go. "Emily," Jeff began, his voice almost patronizing. "I think it's time we finalize everything. You've been a great wife, but it's clear that we're on different paths now. We've arranged for you to move into a smaller apartment downtown. It's a nice place close to the park. You'll love it." I stared at him, barely able to contain my fury. But I kept my voice calm. "And what about the house?" I asked. Marie jumped in. "We'll be selling it, of course. It's too big for just the two of us, and it's time for something new. You'll get a small cut from the sale naturally. It's the least we can do after everything you've done for Adam." I smiled, a tight, controlled smile. "Actually, that won't be necessary." Jeff frowned, confused. "What do you mean?" "I mean," I said, pulling out the documents from my bag, "that you won't be selling the house, because it's mine." The room went silent. Marie's face turned a shade of white I had never seen before. Jeff looked at the papers in disbelief. "What are you talking about?" he stammered. "I paid off the mortgage years ago," I explained, savoring every word. "The house is in my name. Legally, you have no claim to it." Marie started sputtering. "That's not possible. You can't do this." "Oh, but I can," I said, standing up. "And I have." Jeff's face twisted in anger. "You think you can just kick us out, after everything we've done for you?" I stared at him, feeling nothing but cold resolve. "You tried to kick me out, Jeff. You plotted behind my back, planned to leave me with nothing. But the truth is, you're the ones who are going to have to leave." The days that followed were a whirlwind of legal battles and bitter arguments. Jeff and Marie fought tooth and nail to keep the house, but the law was on my side. They had no choice but to leave. Watching them pack their things was strangely satisfying. For so long, I had been the one who felt powerless, the one who was always sacrificing, always giving. But now, the power was mine. Jeff tried to guilt me into reconsidering. "What about Adam?" he asked, his voice soft, as if appealing to my maternal instincts. "Don't you think he'll be upset if we break up the family like this?" I looked him dead in the eye. "Adam will understand. He knows what you've done, and he knows that I deserve better." Marie, of course, was less subtle. She ranted and raved, calling me every name under the sun. But her words didn't bother me. I had won. For the first time in years, I felt truly free. After Jeff and Marie moved out, I transformed the house into my sanctuary. It wasn't just a home anymore. It was a symbol of my strength, my independence. I redecorated every room, filling it with things that brought me joy, things that reflected who I was, not who they had tried to make me be. Adam came home from college for the summer, and we spent our days together, laughing and reminiscing about old times. He knew what had happened, and he supported me completely. "Mom," he said one evening as we sat on the back porch watching the sunset, "you deserve so much better than what they put you through. I'm proud of you." Tears welled up in my eyes as I hugged him tightly. For the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. But the story didn't end there. A few months after Jeff and Marie had been forced out, I received a call from Jeff. His voice was desperate, pleading. "Emily, please, we need to talk. Things haven't been going well. We need your help." I almost laughed out loud. After everything they had done to me, they had the audacity to ask for my help? But instead of hanging up, I decided to hear him out. Jeff explained that they had tried to buy a new house, but their finances were in shambles. They couldn't afford anything close to what they were used to, and now they were struggling to make ends meet. We made a mistake," Jeff admitted, his voice cracking. "We never should have tried to push you out. Can we start over, please?" I let his words hang in the air for a moment before responding. "No, Jeff, we can't start over. You made your choice. Now you have to live with it." And with that, I hung up the phone, finally ready to move on with my life. I'm 48 years old, and for the first time, I'm living for myself. I've rebuilt my life from the ground up, and I've never been happier. The house is mine, my future is mine, and no one will ever take that away from me again.